Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. It is a lovely evening, and as we are starting to wind down within the year, it is now approaching fall, beautiful weather, so I can not put all my hair out of my face and wear makeup and not melt and feel like I have a blanket on me. Anyways, enough formalities. Let's get into this topic, shall we? Now, along the lines and the theme of the strong Black woman and all of her shenanigans. Of our shenanigans. I want to share a little bit about some of the historical references around this topic. We're going to be discussing the breakdown of the families, the African American or the Black African family structure based on the shift in family values and feminism as it pertains to the time and era where people who were turning 30 and 40 um, were just being born. Now, in my last video, I was talking, not in my last video, but in one of my videos, I was talking about, um, I was making a slight reactionary video on a documentary called The Vanishing of the Black Family. If you guys have not seen that documentary, please go check it out. I will probably leave a link in the description and or link it somewhere here so that you can check that out later on for yourself. It is about 56 minutes. But anyways, in that video, it zooms in on a particular issue of how women, our mothers, all right, if you were born in the 80s and late 70s, that was the time where the consensus was, or the norm was, that 50% at that time, and it increased over the period of decades since then, of Black children were born to single mothers. Now, a little bit about my background. Now, me and my mother have had open pake discussion on my channel about various topics around this topic together. So if you want to go check those out, you can also do that as well. And her situation was slightly different but similar. She divorced my father, remarried, he died, and she never remarried. Now, a lot of kids around the time that I was growing up were experiencing similar situations. And we refer to this, or I refer to this as the making bread out of stone situation, where women were raising their children by themselves in the Black community in higher numbers than ever before. And I could remember very specifically that I was being told, I won't tell you who, by women, my elders, that this was not unusual and possible. Now, I like to live in the space of possibility, especially if you're talking about things that refer to issues where you find yourself in a dire situation. But what I also like to do is to be able to have the whole picture, facts, and um, ramifications of my decisions given to me before I find myself in a situation where I have to make a split-second decision or a hard decision. And what I have found is the normalization of single parent households around the time that I was growing up and coupling up was so high that it formulated an opinion about family and family values that ultimately affected the way we view ourselves as mothers and the way we view ourselves as women. And this is the core issue when it comes to Black women losing, is that we have actively, myself included, participated in perpetuating a kind of lifestyle that is not sustainable to the community. And I think that that came because we did not understand how community works. Why? I have a few theories. Um, but what we were given in the from the women of the 1940s and 30s, our grandmothers, if they were around, was a lie. And I keep on asking myself because my grandmother told me that it was okay for me to be a single mother. I wasn't going to be the first and I wasn't going to be the last. Um, those were her words, but yet she did not divorce her husband. She and him, they were ride or die. But one of the more important, and to that effect, I find it extremely disingenuous for women to tell other women this lie. So what has happened? What has happened is that at the time that I was in my 20s, the women in their 30s and 40s were the ones competing for the men that I was dating. Ultimately, it's not the situation that I ended up in. Me and my husband are about the same age, but ultimately men tend to pick younger women because men tend to want to be more established because they're looking for women to have children with. Um, what happened in the era of the 1980s and then and the early 70s was that that shift started to take place because government assistance stepped in to replace the role of the father. Now, I understand that men were Oh man, I'm gonna get in so much trouble for this. Most men in minority communities were blue collar workers. At the same time, women of those communities were given opportunities that men were no longer afforded, such as college degrees and better paying positions. So women indirectly became the breadwinner or the higher breadwinner of said families. The idea that a woman can do whatever she wants came out of that feminist movement, which was a parallel movement of government assistance stepping in to help take care of some minority children. And I can go on about the different aspects of this. It is crazy wild, but I honestly, genuinely, please tell me if I'm being naive, think that there was no foreseeing of how far this was going to step in and destroy the family structure, the family unit. So, feminism, I want to say white feminism, was about equality, and minority feminism was about equity. Now, if you don't know the difference, you can Google it. But basically, some people needed certain things to be put in place that were not readily available in their communities in order for them to have better opportunities for their children. Whereas mainstream feminism, which was running parallel, was about the right to have better access to contraceptive and different kinds of political say in the political arena. While both are important, the definition and the dissension of how that translated into certain communities did not completely reflect the individual needs of minority women. And we need to speak more clearly to this because this is very much a part of the issue that we are experiencing today. We, and I hate saying this because I don't believe that there is much difference in, black and white in terms of what we as a people community want. We want community, we want protection, we want the right and the ability to live freely and to be able to make decisions about our outcome. Um, so I don't want to promote that too much, but I want to speak specifically to the African American experience as it pertains to how culturally shifted things became when we adopted mainstream feminism and replaced it with the family structure. And a lot of people, oh, I could just hear the arguments now. You don't understand, and women need this, and men need to do that. Well, let me just tell you a little bit about the feminist movement. Not tonight. I want to stick to our mothers ourselves because our mother did us a great disservice because our mothers, and we can still love them, dictated to us that we needed to not do what she did, which was pick poorly, pick an abuser, get in her feelings about her relationship, not really have a greater understanding about, you know, um, traditional family values. If you want to have a relationship, you can't have it all. I mean, I'm saying it the way our mothers should have said it, but they actually said, oh, you could do everything. You don't need him. You could do whatever you want. Make sure you have your prenup. I feel like this can be its own podcast beast in itself because it's so much to unpack. But because we grew up hearing that and not actually seeing any strong Black men or any man, period, we started to adopt a norm that women actually can do everything. And our mothers, in their pride and stoicness, I don't even I should know this, guys, but there are too many languages in my head. So I know somebody's going to come in the comment section and tell me that I can't read a spell and that's why Black women are not winning. But that person probably speaks only one language and probably not that well, anyways. Moving right along. Um, and so our mothers, in their pride of who they are, being able to having had juggled a job and a career as a hairdresser and scrape together enough cash so that they can elude their child into thinking that they're happy all the time while avoiding the question of where daddy is, because the answer to that question would probably be I don't even remember his last name, is really the issue about I don't want you to talk about my mom because I want to and identify with this facade that my mother is a perfect, beautiful, awesome goddess. And to some degree, that is psychologically true. Like we are like gods to our children for the most until they're about 11 when they, you know, first start to realize that the tooth fairy doesn't exist. And I mean the tooth fairy took a vacation and no longer be giving any more money. Um but that is what happens, is that we hold on to the idea of our mothers being a certain type of person that she is not, and it's painful. uh it's a painful development of our development and our growth, because in that death is the birth of the realization that our mothers are just human beings who are not immortal. And so I get it, I understand it. And we are that mortal being as well. So admitting her mortality is admitting our mortality. And who wants that? I'd rather just live in the present moment of my mom is God. But there is something even more beautiful at stake here that can be unveiled and revealed, is that your children get to be the person that you or your mother could not be if you would just let go and let that image die out and say, no, she was out of order. I still love her anyways. It's going to be okay, but we are going to do better in the next generation. Why that's hard for our beautiful for our generation to do is for the only sole reason, in my opinion, that we feel that as women, this is a sense of betrayal. Because when you become a mother yourself and you start to understand and realize what it takes to be a mother, and you are constantly obsessing about all the imperfections that you have brought into your child's life, because parenting, let's face it, is dangerous. From the moment they come out to the moment they come out of your house, it's a constant stress and worry. Am I doing the right thing? And if I have to admit to myself that I am not perfect and I'm doing the wrong thing, or I've done something wrong somewhere along the lines, then I also have to admit my mom's wrongdoing. And I would much rather die than do that. Now, our mothers and ourselves has a very healing opportunity for us to acknowledge and accept imperfection while also embracing the desire for perfection and knowing that we may fall somewhere in between and we're going to be okay either way. I want to make sure that you guys are not losing too much sleep or hair about this topic because it really speaks to some of the hardcore issues that are at the root of the downfall of our Black community. Let us let go of this idea of feminism here to save and empower our women. Women have always worked and our situation in America is super, super specific to us, and it's not the plight of the white woman. She is our sister, but she does not understand the struggles that we have experienced. And in order for us to regain power in our communities, we're going to have to start to look at the differences, unfortunately, between her struggle and ours because they're not the same. It does not mean that they don't mean somewhere in the middle sometimes, but what it does mean is that we have to start to admitting our own participation in our demise by embracing things that do not suit the betterment of our community and more importantly our children. So I want to thank you guys again for stopping by. Please like and subscribe to my channel if you like this content. I try to do this every day. um yeah, and if you can, in any case, in any cost, please stay safe and stay free.